Hey, it's time to talk about the one reason that we all actually like strategy games. Recently, Paradox has come out with the sequel to one of the greatest map painting games of all time, so I thought it would be a good time to discuss this phenomenon. The game I'm referring to is, of course, Europa Universalis 3, which came out a couple of months ago. I need that to be true for the sake of my sanity. Also because I wanted a review copy of EU5 and their influencer manager left me on red, and after the trauma of having paid full price for Civilization 7, my faith as a consumer of computer strategy games is at an all-time low. But there's one thing that always brings me back: map painting. Let's talk about what it is and how it works, and I gotta clear up some misconceptions first. Map painting is its own thing that is prominent within the realm of computer strategy games, but also exists outside of them. The fundamental urge that we are describing is the desire to change the color of the map. That is not a metaphor for conquest or expansion. If you think that it is synonymous with 4X games or grand strategy, you have completely lost the plot. We just want the map's color to change. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's just like your opinion, man. Genre classifications are arbitrary, and the one that you're making right now, doubly so. But, in a bizarre turn of events, I have somehow assembled more proof of this one irrelevant point than I have for any substantial claim that I have ever made on this channel. So, first of all, map painting games are not limited to 4X games, or even computer strategy. They're a category, and a human urge, that just happen to have a lot of intersection there. A good comparison might be Spreadsheet Manager, another affectionate label with some criticism baked in. So, Victoria 3 is both a map painting game and a spreadsheet simulator. Civilization 3 is a map painter, but not a spreadsheet simulator. A game like Football Manager is a spreadsheet simulator, but unless the Wikipedia article is really deceiving me, it's not a map painting game. Finally, XCOM Enemy Unknown is a computer strategy game that is neither. Arguably, this also applies to Civilization 2, because they had not really introduced borders yet. These colored squares on the minimap just don't really cut it. These are all examples from computer strategy games, but map painting transcends that genre. It shows up in classical arcade games like Kicks. I'd argue that Tron isn't too far away either. Splatoon is a map painting third-person shooter. I absolutely loved the Turf Wars from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which was a pretty elaborate map painting minigame. And does anyone else remember the graffiti mode from the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series? I know that at a high level you're just doing one big combo for 2 minutes, but at a casual level, this was the absolute best of the multiplayer options. So the genre seems to transcend the realm of computer strategy, but it also transcends our idea of what even is a game. Something like Fantasy Map Simulator has basically removed the player's agency altogether, and it's still addictive as hell. And consider Reddit's experiment of place. Users were limited to placing 1 pixel every 5 minutes, and people came together to make really cool, collaborative art. But they had to organize and develop systems of communication before that happened. The first real trend to catch on, which required no communication because I believe it is baked into the genome of human DNA, was just to paint a corner of the map one color. And also later on, the void too. Oh, and at the start some people were drawing penises, but that goes without saying. The Paradox YouTuber Lemoncake does videos breaking down cool factions to play. He talks a bit about their missions and all that, but one thing he often highlights is when a nation has a cool color. If the point was to conquer, then the color of your nation wouldn't matter. But if the point is painting for its own sake, then the color matters a lot. Spain, Britain, and France get boring primary colors, but we want something bespoke, something a little special. I think all of this was overkill, but at least now my point should be completely clear. Our desire for conquest is completely orthogonal. The most brain-dead, literal interpretation of this phenomenon is actually the correct one. We just like painting maps. Changing the color of the map is the entire objective. With a goal so simple, you'd think that there would be no ways for developers to get this wrong. Tragically, that is not true at all. Let's talk about the ways that games can have better or worse map painting. The most important point is being able to spread a nice color across the map. Of course, this means that the colors themselves should be nice, not like the 50 different variations of beige in Rome Total War 2. We want something like the Celts with their mint green in Civilization 3, or burgundy from EU4 having a really nice shade of... what do you call that color? Crimson. We should also either be able to choose our color or choose our faction with each faction having an assigned color. So a game like Dice Wars, where the human player is locked to just one specific color, is an egregious sin. Yeah, that's like a 25-year-old Flash game catching heat. Absolutely nobody is safe here. But it's a real problem, and it was a game changer for me when I realized that in Heroes 3, that I didn't have to be red, and that I could choose the cool colors like orange, purple, and teal. The colors also need to be visible. In Civilization 2, Fog of War is thick, and you can't see changes in enemy city placement unless you walk right up to them. Map trading, or just having the map be visible at all times, is the clear solution. Yes, I know that it doesn't make sense for medieval Uzbekistan to know about the civil wars in southern France, but either it is close enough that word about the territory changes should reach your ruler, or it is far enough away that it makes no impact on your decision-making process when you're playing the game. Having a map for us to look at that is pretty and complete is much more important to the player than the illusion of reality. Map visibility is something that Civilization 6 also gets wrong. Maybe some solution is buried underneath the sea of over-designed mechanics. I know that, for example, having an alliance will give vision of an ally's territory, but by the end of the Renaissance, you should be able to see the whole map. Tickling your balls and gatekeeping it behind tedious exploration micro is not the way to go. Also, I don't like how Civ 6 changes the color of water terrain. I know that in reality, territory rights in the ocean are really important, but it just feels wrong to me on the minimap. It also leads to nations looking kind of blobby. And this is an important factor when it comes to good map painting. Maybe this is just my opinion, but shape matters a lot. I don't think expansion across the map should be done pixel by pixel. It's much more satisfying when it's broken down into discrete chunks, typically provinces. These chunks can't be too big, otherwise it's like painting with too big of a brush. How could you be expected to create a masterpiece like Long Switzerland under those conditions? Although, on the other hand, getting a big chunk of territory all at once, through a peace deal or inheritance, is also extremely satisfying. I think the map also needs to have features beyond just being an empty plain. Usually that means water, but it could be other landmarks too. That's why playing as steppy factions in Europa Universalis and Total War is just not quite as satisfying. It's easy to lose track of what you've accomplished when everything looks the same. Meanwhile, if you conquer Italy, you know that you did, because it looks like a boot. Water also allows you to do some leapfrogging and paint the map in less conventional ways. So for example, in Rome Total War, playing as the Brutii, you could start the game by blitzing Egypt. Or in this save file as the Scythians, I started this game by blitzing Egypt. I do that a lot. It just feels right. Contiguous empires are typically the most satisfying ones, but a little border gore can actually create something a bit postmodern, with all the beauty of a 10th century Byzantine mosaic. You should be able to pick how you want to expand. The game shouldn't be forcing you down predetermined paths. A counterexample would be the Rise and Fall mod for Civilization 4, which gives nations a stability number for each tile. You are rewarded for staying within the bounds of where your faction expanded to historically. This is not good. It's too deterministic. It's the map painting equivalent of paint by numbers. Bigger maps are better. Nobody wants a 3-inch by 3-inch canvas, and painting the map isn't as satisfying if the fun ends too soon. Plus, a bigger map means more areas, more details, and a greater ability to express yourself in unique ways by expanding in different directions. The one last ingredient to getting this right is motion. If it is difficult to expand, your opportunities for map painting will be limited. I often make fun of medieval Total War 2 for arbitrarily taking land away from historical empires. Historically, it's nonsense, but it's a lot better than Rome Total War 2, where half the factions start with just one territory, and starting your expansion means killing a faction that is fighting for their lives. And I found it difficult to get started when I played Victoria 2. For most nations, everyone that you border is a fully formed nation state, and it's intimidating trying to expand your borders. I think having rebels, barbarians, or unclaimed land gives you some easy targets that you can use to put your brush to canvas, even if it isn't super historically accurate. Anyway, I think that I've established a pretty solid base here. Map painting is just really as simple as it sounds. More games should include it, and when they do, they should do it right. If you are half done your dinner and need another video to watch, check out this one here. It's about a batshit crazy mod for Civilization 4 that somehow had a decade of skilled technical work poured into it. Anyway, as always, take care. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.